Hello everyone, welcome to today's amazing story. Ewan has seen it all, witnessing loved ones fade away, but this time, he has to leave quietly. Friends were as curious as kids, throwing 100 whys at Ewan. Ewan patiently shared his journey eastward, filled with wonders and cultures fueled by his curiosity about the world. In the early Kingdom period, Ewan was honored to gaze upon the stunning Mediterranean while venturing along the ancient trade routes. Learning the local languages as he traveled, he witnessed historical wonders, ultimately realizing that just moving forward was pointless. Most people could settle down quickly, but with the rise of villages and urban tyranny, he was often viewed with suspicion. Nevertheless, Ewan kept wandering, even mastering the art of playing dead for ceremonies, and eventually reached India. Catching up with Buddha's era, he studied under him for a while. Buddha knew Ewan's secret identity, but he never let it slip. Many people felt quite puzzled and couldn't understand why Ewan chose to disclose his long-held deep secrets, and precisely at that moment, an archaeologist finally found his capable assistant. The enthusiastic researcher will arrive full of passion, eagerly diving straight to the point, and at the same time, the boss briefly outlined their previous discussions. What an exceptionally brilliant idea this is. Speaking of which, maybe we should just joke around and walk it off. Who knows, he might just push us into believing him or push us back into reality. Believe it? Who is the real reality? So, you're a principal. Yes, we made a little psychological joke hoping to analyze Ewan's life story. Ewan revealed he survived 2 bouts of pneumonia, dealt with phlegm, yellow fever, and even lived through the Black Death. Will quickly caught a blind spot. Although Ewan had smallpox, he bore no scars. Ewan hurried to explain that his unique physiology left no marks. Biologists immediately showed interest in studying him with several experts, but Ewan declined emphatically. He didn't want to be a lab rat for 1,000 years unless he got a scientific certificate. Old Black suddenly realized Ewan must be incredibly knowledgeable, and Ewan admitted he had 10 degrees in various fields. Except for world psychology, achieving such success took 170 years, and a common person could never surpass their own. However, after Ewan obtained his biology degree, he could never catch up with knowledge updates until someone claimed the Earth was round. He still harbored some hesitations within his heart, and Will was deeply intrigued by this. Will was very curious about how Ewan viewed death, believing it was a very real issue. From the perspective of injustice, he saw human death as just falling down and never getting up again, leading to decay. His aging was also an unsolvable mystery at first. He thought the issue was with others. But as time progresses, Will poses this question once more. What exactly does the passing of time signify for someone in his position? For fishermen, it's as if waves are crashing, like vanes swaying in the wind, and Ewan often felt weary. Because humanity keeps repeating mistakes, he feels sorrow and helplessness at their loss. Have you ever felt like you should just be yourself in life? This carefree attitude might unknowingly irritate Will, turning casual conversations into wisdom-filled exchanges. Do you think you could be? You might be. Some people have always been mythologized. Not as a mere person, but as a force of life. Oh my goodness. Perhaps we can only speculate within some biological or spiritual frameworks, which is a baffling thing. I'm not saying you would do this on purpose, but is this a reality, and what does it all mean? Will asked if he'd attend his funeral, lamenting fate, thinking Ewan a vampire. To test this theory, Will excitedly stood up, pulled out a revolver, and wanted to see the truth. If Ewan survived his shot, then Will would believe this claim. Everyone laughed, but they didn't dare joke about life. Will couldn't help but put the gun away. Will was a bit over the top. The archaeologist lamented about Will's wife passing away just yesterday. So, that was the reason for his breakdown. The Swan Alliance went out in silence to mourn this life. However, when Ewan got the gun, he found it was empty. What a farce it turned out to be. Friends were still chatting animatedly. They talked about a kindred spirit they once met, and their discussion lasted 2 days. The other person, like Ewan, had lived for ages, and they validated each other's tales. Yet the two remained suspicious of each other's motives. 200 years later, they spotted each other at a train station, but didn't greet each other. Smiling, they shouted, "Lived too long." Friends wondered how to pass time. Ewan mentioned that whenever he wanted to escape the hustle and bustle of mornings, he'd think of a tribe in New Guinea. There, people worshipped him as a god and even crafted a statue of him. When asked about his religious beliefs, Ewan replied that he didn't believe in any religion. When friends asked if God existed, Ewan said he might just be right next to us. As Ewan had no faith, he couldn't find primal power, and Old Black thought of an interesting question last night. What was Ewan pondering over, gnawing on tough bucks? Old Black immediately realized that perhaps Ewan was forced into a specific role by some circumstance. After Ewan admitted it, everyone became curious and began discussing the 12 apostles.